We're live, hopefully.
Bye, baby.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Candice and Megan. We're recording our first video to cover a couple of nutrition topics. I'm calling from Chicago, where it's about 3 degrees right now. And I'll let Megan tell you where she's at. But don't feel bad for me. It's super sunny today, and I'm having an awesome day. So
yeah, you did a march this morning, right?
I did 80 flights stair climb for a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital here with my family. So it was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. You got beautiful views of Chicago, huh?
I did.
Love that. So I'm calling in from San Diego, where, 74 degrees today. It's really nice. And I will say I am by an airport. I told Candice this, but you may hear some planes and we're just going to roll with it. But yeah, we're excited to bring to you some information regarding Wodapalooza and our nutrition and what does training look like moving forward.
Yeah. So I'll start by asking some questions of Megan since she competed at Wodapalooza last week. So about a week out. First questions are really around, how did you plan your nutrition during the competition? And then what have you done in this last week as you recover?
So leading up to Wodapalooza, I knew that I would be staying in an Airbnb. So I kind of set out what are my resources. I knew that I'd have access to a kitchen, and I was driving down to Miami. I was a little bit of a special case where I flew into Charlotte, North Carolina first to see my family. I knew I would have access, like I said, to a kitchen. So I went grocery shopping and I meal prepped. I packed a cooler, packed a car, and drove down to Miami, stayed in the Airbnb, had access to a fridge. And the reason why I did that is because, number one, just money conscious. To be transparent, I spent $70 on food from Wednesday to Sunday. So number one, money, but also when I compete, I want to eat foods that are familiar to me. So I don't want to eat vendor food, even though it is relatively healthy. It's just might be something that my body's not used to. And then if I go and try to compete, I'd rather not see what could happen. I'd rather just go with familiar foods. So I did the whole potatoes, rice, chicken, beef, and vegetables like I eat normally, and eggs. And so from that, the whole weekend, I just ate my own food. But I gave myself grace, at night when the competition was done. If friends, we typically went out to eat. I went out and I ate food, Greek food, some Italian food. So for me, that was my balance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really helpful when you have a kitchen. We did the same thing. So we went down with a large group, had an Airbnb. And so we hit up the grocery store so that we could prepare some of our own foods while we were there. And then when we were eating out during the day, we actually hit up the Whole Foods, the salad bar. I don't know if you went in there during the competition, but that store was not ready for CrossFitters. It was packed.
I think it's the 8th year, and I'm you guys should know that this weekend you all come to town because
the lines were crazy, but it actually was kind of fun because it felt the cool thing to do is eat healthy. Here we all are. So it was nice that was so close. So yeah, similar thing. We prepared our own food as much as we could. We tried to get high quality food from the grocery store. And again, when you do that salad bar style, you control your portion size and what you're taking in. So we did that. And then same kind of thing. We had a couple meals where we ate out and just sort of enjoyed the local kind of lower key vibe of Miami and enjoyed what was there because it was still a vacation for us as well.
For sure. And that's kind of for me while competing, my appetite isn't super normal. I will say because of nerves and the angst of competing, I get my stomach, I don't get a lot of hunger cues. So what's important for me is to know to wake up, eat breakfast, like non-negotiable, to just start, I guess, my hunger cues from going and knowing that like I'm putting fuel in my body. And then as the day went on, I usually had an event in the morning and then one middle of the afternoon, and I would eat like a bigger meal after my last workout, just because I knew that I'd have time to digest. And, you know, I wasn't eating big meals between my events just due to anxiety really, and just being anxious about competing. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's smart. And you mentioned earlier, you know, sticking with familiar foods. I recommend the same thing. Obviously, Wodapalooza is a little extreme because it's a multi-day event and you've got tons of workouts in the same day. But even, you know, coming up to the open or something like that, where it's just one workout and maybe even shorter than the workouts that you're normally used to, when people ask, I always recommend don't change what you're doing now necessarily. Like make sure you're fueling yourself enough. We usually talk about getting enough carbs pre and post workout around that time to recover well and be ready for the WOD. But otherwise, I don't want people eating anything differently than they normally eat, because you just don't know how your body is going to respond to it digestively. And like you said, there's a lot of different stress on you that you're maybe not giving enough credit to, because it is a more intense moment when you're competing, or even if it's just your own gym doing like an open workout for the first time.
oh yeah, and especially leading into the open, I think something for like CrossFit athletes, our sport is very glycolytic, meaning we utilize carbs. We need those. We need to be fueling our body with carbohydrates. And, you know, a lot of people will, you know, sometimes there's a fear around adding carbs. I just think it's important. Like this weekend, I made sure I had my starches, like my potatoes, my rice, and then I made like little sandwiches, but like easy, quick, digestible carbs. So like leading up into the open, the day of doing your workout, depending on the time of the day, making sure that your carb sources are on point. And once again, like you're not changing or adding in different sources that you're not used to is key.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll do, so we're about 4 weeks out from the open now, which lasts 5 weeks. I'll, you know, if people are listening to this now as we post it, and I'll put it on my Instagram and email it to our gym soon, was like, if you are interested in changing up your diet to support performance a little differently, I'll have them start testing carbs pre and post workout now in these weeks leading up to it versus like week 1 of the open. Absolutely. That way they can at least get a feel for it in these next couple of weeks, because some people don't like to eat right before they work out, but maybe haven't necessarily tried it yet. And if they kind of change things up, they might find they feel better, have more energy. So I'd rather have them doing that now in these next couple of weeks than once the competition begins.
Absolutely. And I think something I heard in that is it's just so individualized. And that's why I love what we do when we get to coach people, is because it's just very specific to them. And something that works for one of my clients may not work at all for the next. Yeah. So we have a really cool job where we can help people tailor it to them.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like, I'm just like smirking because I'm always hesitant to like maybe do videos like this or send messages with just generalized information, because it is so individual. And so I always want a caveat of like, well, it depends on context. It depends who you are. It depends what your history is. It depends what your goals are. And so it's hard for me to just throw out random tips of advice without knowing more about you and what you want. Of course, there are some like general principles like we're talking about today that you can apply, but the one-on-one individualized coaching is great for that reason. You get to know the person and find out what works for them.
Absolutely. Love that.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say like, and then rolling into post Wodapalooza.
Yeah.
For that. So my body I flew out Sunday night. So the competition ended. I actually missed my last event because my flight interfered with it. The competition kind of got delayed. So unfortunately I didn't get to compete in my last event, but with that I was on a plane and, 6 hours on a plane, landed. My time was 11 o'clock. So like 2 o'clock East Coast time, made for a long day. But rolling into Monday, my body was tired. It was more mentally, like physically wasn't that tired, but to me, I needed rest. So I had discussed, I have a coach, and we discussed that Monday through Wednesday we're going to be low key workout wise. So a lot of flow work, meaning go on a walk for 45 minutes, ride the bike, stretch, like very low stress workouts. And my nutrition, getting back into the week, I'm a little bit of a different case, and we're going to get into this in a later episode, but I have stopped tracking since January 1. So I'm giving myself 30 days of no weighing, no logging, no tracking. And so getting back into the week, I just really listened to my body. Like, to be quite honest, I woke up on Monday and I wasn't hungry. My digestion was off. I think just from traveling, time zones. So I kind of didn't eat till later in the day. But yeah, my nutrition definitely looks a lot different right now with that goal in mind.
Okay. And so not tracking, what are some cues you're using as you're getting back into this week to know how to best fuel your body? Because obviously workouts are not as intense, but you still need to recover. So you may actually need to eat a little bit more than your activity indicates, but you're not tracking. So how are you managing that right now?
Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, like with those style workouts we do, more like carb dominant, but my training isn't as intense, like you just mentioned. And so with that, I've been more focused on how much fat I'm getting, because I know that like mentally I was taxed this weekend. My body, like I said, went through time zones, and I'm just I'm more mentally fatigued. So first things first, breakfast once again is a non-negotiable. Like, wake up and eat, start the fuel, and from there I've been eating like 3 times a day, which is a lot less than what I typically eat. And I listen for my hunger cues. Like, when my stomach is growling, I fuel myself with a meal, instead of having like a protein bar or a piece of fruit. Like, I actually have a meal. Yeah. I do have snacks on me throughout the day. So like, fruits, or I'm a big yogurt, granola kind of person. But the main thing I've been focused on is my protein intake and fat. So including a good, like serving of protein, which I use like the palm of my hand for my protein source. And then for fat, a good way, a measure is for women, like 2 to 3 servings of your thumb. So
all right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's great. And I think really helpful. So thanks. So I know we're kind of like, we wanted to keep these short. So one more thing I wanted to throw out there before we end this video. We both sort of talked about, while we were traveling in a way, we tried to stick to our normal stuff, our normal routine as much as we could. And I know you got a question on Instagram that was asking, how do you balance proper performance and hitting it hard in the gym, with like being too robotic about it and too much into a routine. So you talked about having some more flowy workouts this week. What's your response to that question that came in?
I resonate with this one a lot, because I've been on the side of the coin where I'm very robotic, very routine with, I have to train, I have to eat this way, I have to get to bed. And I've really learned to be agile with it. And it's a mindset thing, I think, number one. I keep repeating to myself, did I get fit overnight? Am I going to get unfit overnight? And at the end of the day, the name of the game, I think, regarding nutrition or health and wellness, is just consistency. Like, what are you doing consistently? So like this week, I have been focusing on quality foods, fat in my diet, protein, and I've gotten to the gym every single day. Yes, it's not training 2 hours. It's more flow and recovery. But like, those little steps build a bigger picture of health and wellness. And learning that like CrossFit and the way we train is not the end all be all. Walking outside in nature, if your weather allows for it, that's activity. Or, you know, doing like a circuit, push-ups, sit-ups, squats. That's a way of moving. So I think it's like letting go of like the rigidity around having to be in a CrossFit gym and doing your program is the end all be all.
Yeah.
And
that
I think
makes sense.
more to come on that. Like that's definitely something I struggle with. And I'm just learning that like there's other ways.
Yeah, I'm the same. For me, having a routine and a framework makes me feel more freedom, which I know sounds contradictory, but sort of having a plan and a template of sorts and a schedule helps me feel like I'm in more control of my day and getting things done that I want to get done. And what I've learned a lot over the last couple of years is to, yes, still plan ahead so I can get things done that I want to get done, but not freak out when something changes about that plan, and to be more flexible. And sometimes that means just eating different foods than I was planning on, or missing a workout in the gym, and just reminding myself that even if I'm just doing some air squats, push-ups, kettlebell swings at home, or anything like low key, that's still movement, right? Like I always like to say slow motion is better than no motion, right? So do something. I think I stole that from like a hip hop song. But like do something, you know, like it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. Like you're saying, CrossFit is not the only way. Get outside of the gym, try different things, walk around. I saw people riding their bike today when I was out, and I'm not kidding. It's like it's like 5 degrees outside right now, and they're like doing the damn thing. So good for them. You know, just move basically. And I would say like have a routine so that again you make sure you're taking care of yourself, and it doesn't always feel like you're frantic and running from one thing to the next. But when those things pop up, roll with it and use it as an opportunity to kind of, you know, express fitness in a different way than you may be used to when you're in the gym.
For sure. Something that just came to mind, maybe we can leave them with this little nugget, but it's a framework and it's through Jason Phillips, but he has a triangle and there's aesthetics at the top. So what are your goals? So at the top, it's aesthetics. There's performance on one end, and then there's lifestyle on the other end, right? And it's a good visual to be like, all right, if my goal is performance, so I'm tracking over here, I'm getting further and further away from like aesthetics, and I'm getting further and further away from a lifestyle. So like if you're all in on performance and you know that's your main goal of like competing the best you can in the open, or whether that be like a triathlon or whatever your fitness goal is, if you're hardcore on that performance side, you have to see that there are sacrifices with your lifestyle and aesthetics, that it's a trade-off. So that's something that I keep in mind when regarding like my goals. And if it's hardcore performance, all right, well, my lifestyle is going to look a lot different, and I have to say no to a lot of things.
Yeah, we definitely have to talk about that triangle on a different show, because we could. Yes. That's a good one, and good way to work, and a shout out to Jason. I love that. Yeah. But no, that I love that, and where that's showing up for me with clients right now is people are coming off of the holidays and feeling like a little like fluffier or heavier than they like to be, and so everyone wants to sort of lose weight. But for those that are doing CrossFit and care about how they compete in the open, my recommendation is this now is not the time to cut your carbs. We need to focus on performance, and we can talk about leaning out and some of that aesthetic stuff after the fact. But you know, now let's think about performance. If this is in fact your in season, for CrossFitters, most of us it is.
For sure.
So, all right, I'm gonna cut myself off, or else I'll keep going on.
I know.
All right. So should we end it here?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing the Wodapalooza info. I think it's going to be really interesting for people.
Yeah, thank you for all the questions. It made me think, and hopefully it's good information for you guys.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.